Title: It started with a blue rubber ball. Now I'm terrified to let my 3-year-old fall asleep. Posted by you/sleep-deprived dad 88. I'm writing this from the bathroom floor. The fan is on, drowning out the sound of my wife, Sarah, crying in the hallway, and the sound of him, my son, Leo, talking to himself in his bedroom. I don't have much time. If the battery on this laptop dies, I don't think I can charge it. The outlets in the house aren't working right. Nothing is working right. I need to get this down while I still have a grasp on what real feels like. It started about 6 weeks ago. Leo is 3. If you have a toddler, you know the age. It's that magical, frustrating, adorable window where their vocabulary explodes, their imagination runs wild, and the line between fact and fiction is basically non-existent. One Tuesday morning, Leo shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Daddy, I lose my ball," he mumbled around a mouthful of saliva. "Which ball, bud?" I asked, pouring coffee. "The blue one with the stars, the bouncy one." We didn't own a blue ball with stars. We had red ones, yellow ones, and a sad-looking deflated soccer ball in the garage. But toddlers say weird stuff. "Maybe we can look for it later," I said, dismissing it. I turned around to put the milk back in the fridge. When I turned back to the table, it was there, sitting right in the center of his playmat. A small, blue rubber super ball with silver glitter stars embedded in the rubber. "Found it!" Leo chirped, grabbing it and bouncing it off the linoleum. Thwack, thwack, thwack. I froze. I asked Sarah if she'd bought it. She hadn't. We assumed it was something he'd pocketed from daycare or maybe found at the park. We shrugged it off. It's just a ball, right? 3 days later, it happened again. Leo woke up giggling. "I had a dream about pizza," he announced. "The cheesy kind with the pepperoni circles." We had planned to make grilled chicken and veggies, healthy stuff. Sarah's a stickler for nutrition. But at 5:30 p.m., the doorbell rang. It was a delivery guy from a local place we order from maybe twice a year. "Large pepperoni, paid in full," the kid said, looking bored. "I didn't order this," I said. "Says here, David. Paid online. Look, man, do you want it or not?" I took the pizza. I checked my bank account, no charges. I checked Sarah's, nothing. We ate the pizza. We joked that Leo must be a psychic. We laughed about it. God, I miss that laughter. I miss how stupid we were. Week 2, the golden age. For a solid week, it was incredible. It sounds insane to say this now, considering the hell we are living in, but it was like winning the lottery in slow motion. Leo would wake up and tell us what he saw. "I saw a puppy." We found a stray golden retriever sitting on our porch an hour later. No collar, no chip. We named him Buster. "I saw money rain." We went for a walk and found a wind-blown stack of 20s stuck in the hedge, nearly $200. Sarah and I started getting greedy, not in a malicious way, just in a desperate, tired parent way. We started to try and guide the dreams. We'd read him books about tropical vacations, hoping he'd manifest plane tickets. We'd talk about new cars within earshot. But we quickly learned the first rule: you can't guide it. It only works if it's deep sleep, REM sleep, the raw, unfiltered stuff. The shift happened on Sunday. Leo had a fever. Nothing serious, just a low-grade temp that made him toss and turn. He fell asleep on the couch while we were watching a nature documentary about deep-sea creatures. I dozed off in the armchair. I woke up to the sound of splashing, not the faucet dripping, splashing, heavy, rhythmic thuds of water hitting the floor. I sat up. The living room carpet was soaked. The air smelled thick with salt and brine, that heavy, rotten seaweed smell of the ocean at low tide. "Sarah?" I called out. The splashing got louder. I looked down. The floor was covered in 3 inches of water, but it wasn't sitting flat. It was churning, and there were things in it. Small, translucent crabs scurrying across the rug. A jellyfish pulsing quietly on top of the coffee table.
Leo was thrashing on the couch. "No, too deep, cold," he whimpered. I ran to him and shook him awake. "Leo, wake up, bud." His eyes snapped open. Instantly, the water vanished. The crabs, the jellyfish, the smell of salt, gone. The carpet was bone dry. "Daddy," he rubbed his eyes, "I swam too far." "It's okay," I said, my heart hammering against my ribs. "You're okay." I looked at the coffee table. There was a small circular stain on the wood, a water ring, and right next to it, a single grain of wet sand. That was the first time I felt the fear, because that wasn't just an object appearing. That was an environment. He had overwritten reality just for a moment.
Week 4. The Intruder. The dreams got darker. Toddlers process the world in weird ways. They don't understand cause and effect, and they don't understand mortality, but they understand fear. Leo started talking about the Scratchy Man. "Who is the Scratchy Man, Leo?" asked Sarah over breakfast. Leo was aggressively mashing a banana into his toast. "He lives in the closet in my sleep," Leo said casually. "He has long fingers. He makes the noise." "What noise?" Leo stopped mashing. He looked at Sarah with dead flat eyes that didn't belong on a 3-year-old. He opened his mouth and made a sound. It wasn't a scream. It was the sound of wet leather rubbing against dry wood. Skrrkt, skrrkt. "He wants to come out," Leo said, "but I told him no. He's messy." That night, I put a chair under the doorknob of Leo's closet. I felt like an idiot doing it. I'm a 30-year-old accountant. I don't believe in boogeymen, but the air in his room felt static, like the feeling you get right before a thunderstorm breaks, when the hair on your arm stands up. At 3 a.m., the house alarm went off. I grabbed the baseball bat from under the bed. Sarah was already dialing 911. "Front door sensor," she hissed. I ran downstairs, adrenaline flooding my system. I expected a burglar. I expected a broken window. The front door was wide open. The night air was blowing in. But there were no footprints coming in. There were gouges in the hardwood floor, deep, ragged scratches, like someone had dragged a heavy table across the wood. They started at the bottom of the stairs and went out the door. They started at the stairs, but when I followed them back, they originated from Leo's room. I ran back upstairs. Leo was fast asleep, but the closet door, the one I had wedged shut with a heavy oak chair, was open. The chair had been snapped, not knocked over, snapped. One of the legs was twisted off like a twig. Inside the closet, on the back wall, someone had drawn a face in black crayon, just 2 hollow eyes and a massive, jagged grin. Except we don't own black crayons. We only buy the washable markers because Leo draws on everything. This wasn't marker. It looked like charcoal or ash. I woke Leo up. "Did you draw this?" I asked, trying not to yell. He looked at the closet and yawned. "Yo, no, Daddy. Scratchy Man did his portrait. He left. He said the house is too small." Week 5. The Siege. We tried to keep him awake. Do you know what happens to a toddler who doesn't sleep? They don't just get cranky, they get psychotic. We did shifts. Sarah took the morning, I took the night. We pumped him full of sugar. We let him watch iPad videos until his eyes were bloodshot squares. We played loud music. But you can't fight biology. It was Tuesday again. I was on shift. Sarah had passed out in the master bedroom. She hadn't slept more than 4 hours in 3 days. Leo was sitting on the living room rug, surrounded by Legos. He was blinking slowly. "Daddy, tired," he murmured. "No, buddy, let's build a tower. Look, a big tower," I shouted, my own voice cracking with exhaustion. "Tired." His head drooped. "Leo, no." I clapped my hands. "Cookie? You want a cookie?" He nodded, but his eyes were closed. "Cookie." I ran to the kitchen to grab the Oreos. It took me maybe 15 seconds. When I came back, the living room was gone. I don't mean it was empty. I mean the walls had dissolved. The floor was now dirt
dark, packed earth. The ceiling was a canopy of twisted gray roots, like we were underground beneath a massive dead tree. The air was freezing, and Leo was gone. "Leo!" I screamed. I stepped onto the dirt. It crunched under my bare feet. I looked around. The TV was still there, suspended in midair, tangled in the roots. The couch was half buried in the mud. Scurrict, scurrict. The sound came from behind the TV. I grabbed the lamp that was sticking out of the ground, the cord severed, and held it like a club. "Leo!" I saw him. He was curled up in a ball near where the hallway used to be. He was asleep. Standing over him was it. The scratchy man wasn't a man. It was a caricature of a human drawn by a terrified child and given three-dimensional form. It was vibrating like a glitch in a video game. Its limbs were too long, possessing too many joints. Its skin looked like crumpled paper. It leaned over my son, its jaw unhinging, revealing a black void where a throat should be. It inhaled. It wasn't eating him. It was inhaling his dream. It was feeding on the reality Leo was projecting. I charged. "Get away from him!" I swung the lamp. It connected with the creature's arm. It didn't feel like hitting flesh. It felt like a dense cloud of flies. The arm dissipated into black smoke, then instantly reformed, grabbing the lamp and crushing it into powder. The creature turned its head 180 degrees to look at me. The face, it didn't have eyes. It had the idea of eyes, deep, scratched pits that pulled the light in. Scurried. It wheezed. "Daddy." It mimicked Leo's voice perfectly. I didn't think. I tackled Leo. I grabbed his small, warm body and shook him violently. "Wake up! Leo, wake up!" The creature screamed, a sound like metal tearing, and lunged. Leo's eyes flew open. He gasped, taking in a massive gulp of air. Pop! The air pressure in the room dropped so fast my ears popped. The roots vanished. The dirt vanished. We slammed back into the hardwood floor of the living room. I was clutching Leo, breathing hard. The lamp lay broken on the floor, but it wasn't crushed to powder anymore. Just broken. Leo looked at me, tears welling in his eyes. "Daddy, the scratchy man is hungry." "I know, Bud. I know. He says he's going to eat the sun next."
Now, that was 3 days ago. Since then, we haven't let him sleep for more than 10 minutes at a time. But we are failing. The manifestations are bleeding through, even when he's awake now. He'll blink, and for a split second, the kitchen knives will turn into snakes. He'll yawn, and the windows will disappear, replaced by brick walls. The boundaries are breaking down. Sarah is in the hallway because she tried to leave an hour ago. She opened the front door, but outside wasn't our street. It was a white void. Just nothing. White, silent nothingness. Leo dreamed the outside world away because he didn't want us to leave. So we are trapped here. Leo is in his room. I can hear him. He's singing the clean up song, but the words are wrong. Clean up, everybody die. Clean up, say the world goodbye. I have to make a choice. I have a bottle of sleeping pills in the cabinet. If I give them to him, he'll sleep deep. He won't wake up for 12 hours. If he sleeps that long, I don't think the world will survive it. The scratchy man, or whatever that parasite is, will have enough time to pull everything into the void. But the alternative... I'm looking at the heavy flashlight on the counter. I'm looking at his bedroom door. If I knock him unconscious, does he dream? Or is it just black? If I stop his heart just for a minute and perform CPR, does that reset it? Or do I just let it happen? Do I let my son dream us all into oblivion? The fan in the bathroom is starting to sound like a voice. Skirt, skirt. The laptop battery is at 4%. The screen is flickering. The pixels are rearranging themselves. They're forming a face. Leo just stopped singing. I hear his footsteps outside the bathroom door. They are heavy, too heavy for a 3-year-old. Daddy? His voice calls out, but it's coming from the ceiling vents. Daddy, I had a bad dream. What was it, buddy? I whisper. I dreamed I was you. The doorknob is turning. The metal is turning to liquid. It's dripping onto the floor. I don't think I'm the one waking up this time. Update. The door is gone. There is only the dark. If you're reading this, please wake up. Please wake up. You are dreaming me.
Title: I inherited a locked box from my grandfather, a former KGB archivist. It explains what really happened at Dyatlov Pass. You know the story. Everyone knows the story. It's the Titanic of unsolved mysteries. 9 hikers in the Ural Mountains, 1959. They cut their tent open from the inside. They ran into the snow in their socks. Some had crushed skulls. Others had chest trauma comparable to a car crash, but with no external bruising. One was missing a tongue, another her eyes. Their clothes were radioactive. The theories range from the mundane to the absurd. Avalanche, katabatic winds, escaped gulag prisoners, yetis, aliens, infrasound. I'm not here to offer a theory. I'm here to offer a translation. My grandfather, Victor, died 3 weeks ago in Yekaterinburg. He was a hard man, cold. He spent 30 years in the KGB, mostly pushing papers in archives that didn't officially exist. He never spoke about his work, and he never spoke about the mountains, despite living in the shadow of the Urals his whole life. When we cleared out his apartment, I found a heavy, lead-lined document case under the floorboards of his pantry. It wasn't just hidden, it was entombed, sealed with wax and wire. Inside, there was no gold, no money, just a single manila folder stamped with Gosbezopasnost, Osoba Papka, State Security, Special File, and a small, battered notebook with water-damaged pages. The notebook belonged to Semyon Zolotarov. If you follow the case, you know Zolotarov. He was the outsider, much older than the college students, a war veteran. He had mysterious tattoos. He was the one found in the ravine, wearing someone else's coat, camera around his neck. The file contains the sanitized after-action report from a Soviet cleanup crew that arrived before the official search party. It took me 2 weeks to translate the handwritten cursive and the military jargon. I wish I hadn't. Here is the transcript of Semyon Zolotarov's suppression diary. Exhibit A, the Journal of Semyon Zolotarov. Note: the early pages describe the train ride and the early trek. They are mundane, though Semyon notes a disconnect with the younger students. I have skipped to the relevant dates. January 28, 1959. Yudin turned back today. His sciatica is flaring. The boy was crying, hugging Luda. I feel a strange envy, not because he gets to go home to a warm bed, but because he gets to turn his back on it. The further north we go, the louder the silence becomes. It's not the quiet of nature, it's the quiet of a room after someone has stopped screaming. Igor, Dyatlov, is confident. He wants to make grade 3 certification. He looks at the maps, but I look at the geometry of the ridges. The Mansi call the peak ahead Kolatsyakl. They say it means dead mountain. The locals in Vijay told me that was a mistranslation. They said the dialect is older. It doesn't mean dead. It means the mountain that is not for us. January 30th, 1959. The weather is turning. The wind sounds like distinct voices. Rustem asked me today about the war. He asked if I was afraid of dying. I told him the truth. In the war, you knew what was trying to kill you. You could see the tank. You could hear the artillery. Here, I feel like I am walking across the palm of a sleeping giant, waiting for the hand to close. I took photos today.
just trees, snow. But looking through the viewfinder, the edges of the lens seem distorted, like heat haze, but it is -15 degrees. Dubinina mentioned she felt dizzy, a metallic taste in her mouth. I checked the Geiger counter in my pack, the one I wasn't supposed to bring, the one my contact gave me. It clicked once, sharply, then went dead. Not 0, dead. The needle snapped off. January 31st, 1959. We have reached the edge of the highland. The trees are thinning. They look twisted, like arthritic fingers clawing at the sky. Something is wrong with the snow. We found tracks today. Not animals, not Mansi hunters. They were geometric, perfect circles, 3 feet wide, depressed into the hard-packed crust. Inside the circles, the snow was melted, fused into glass. Igor says it's a weather phenomenon, lightning strikes, but there are no clouds. Thibaut de Brignol, and I shared a cigarette away from the group. He showed me his hands. The skin on the fingertips is peeling. "It burns, Sasha," he whispered. "The snow burns." Tonight we camp on the slope. Igor wants to practice a slope-side setup. It's a mistake. We are too exposed. I told him we should go down to the tree line. He laughed. He said the mountain is testing us. He is right, but it is not a test we can pass. February 1st, 1959, midday. We woke up tired. Nobody slept well. Luda is irritable. She snapped at Zina for sewing a button too slowly. The light is strange today. The sun is up, but the sky is a bruised purple. The shadows are stretching in the wrong directions. I know how that sounds. I'm a rational man. I fought the Nazis, but I swear, at noon, my shadow was pointing towards the sun. I caught Krivonishenko staring at the peak of Oterton. He was weeping silently. When I shook him, he looked at me with pupils so dilated his eyes were black holes. "Can't you hear the humming?" he asked. I can hear it now. It's in my teeth. A low vibration. 7 hertz? Lower? It makes me nauseous. February 1st, 1959. Evening. The final entry. Handwriting is jagged, erratic. The pen has punched through the paper in several places. We are not alone. We set up the tent on the slope, 5 p.m. It happened while we were eating. The humming stopped. It was replaced by the sound of tearing metal. The sky lit up, not from above, but from below. The light is coming from the snow. It is pulsing up through the floor of the tent. Zina is screaming that she is burning. We are all hot, incredibly hot. It is -25 outside, but I'm sweating. My skin feels like it is expanding, like I'm being cooked in a microwave. Slobodin tried to open the flap. He fell back, clutching his head. He said the air outside is heavy. Something touched the side of the tent. It didn't push the canvas in. It phased through it. A hand? A claw? No, it was a shape of pure color, a color I have never seen. Where it touched the canvas, the fabric didn't tear. It ceased to exist. Igor is shouting to cut the side. We have to get out. The heat is unbearable. The light is blinding. My camera. I have to take the camera. God, the noise. It sounds like the mountain is cracking open. They are not here to watch. They are here to feed. Not on flesh, on perception. If found, do not look at the text becomes illegible scrawl.
Exhibit B, KGB Archive, File 772B. Subject, Incident at Height 1079. Date, February 6, 1959, 3 weeks prior to official discovery. Classification, Omega/Purge. Reporting Officer, Captain V. Volkov, Special Containment Unit. Summary of arrival. Unit arrived at coordinates via rotary wing aircraft at 0600 hours following the detection of a seismic Class 4 anomaly by the listening post at Ivdel. Aerial reconnaissance showed no avalanche. The slope was undisturbed, save for the tent. Initial site assessment. The tent was collapsed. It had been slashed from the inside. The radiation detectors on our suits began screaming at 500 meters out. This is not isotopic radiation. It is Cherenkov radiation, leakage from a dimensional rift. The bodies, Phase 1 recovery. We located the first two subjects, later identified as Krivonishenchenko and Doroshenko, near the cedar tree. Note, the official narrative will state they died of hypothermia. Reality, the subjects were not frozen. They were calcified. Their skin had turned into a hard gray carapace. They were fused to the ground. We had to use hammers to break the bond. The fire they had built was not for warmth. They were burning their own clothes. They were trying to create carbon. They were trying to filter the air. Subject Krivonishenchenko had bitten off his own knuckles. The ravine, Phase 2 recovery. We found the second group deep in the ravine. Subject Zolotaryov, Subject Dubinina, Subject Thibaut Brignol, Subject Kolevatov. This site was the epicenter of the interaction. Subject Dubinina was altered. She was kneeling, facing the rock wall. Her head was tilted back. She did not lose her tongue and eyes to scavengers. There are no scavengers here. The birds avoid this mountain. Her tongue was not removed. It was inverted. It had been pulled down her throat and fused to her lungs. Her eyes were not missing. They had been turned inward. When we turned the body, I saw the optic nerves protruding from the sockets, staring into her own skull. Subject Zolotaryov was holding a notebook, secured, and a camera. His body displayed the most trauma. His chest was crushed, but not by impact. It was an implosion. The pressure differential between our atmosphere and their atmosphere crushed him like a soda can. He was wearing Subject Dubinina's coat. It was covered in a viscous purple fluid that evaporated when exposed to our flashlights.
Continued from File 772B. The Entity. At 0800 hours, Private Raskov screamed. We looked up the slope. The anomaly was still active. It appeared as a sphere of shimmering, oily darkness, approximately 10 meters in diameter, hovering over the abandoned tent. It was vibrating. Private Raskov fell to his knees. He began to claw at his eyes, shouting that he could see the math. He screamed that the angles of the mountains were wrong, that the triangle of the peak had 4 sides. I ordered the unit to open fire. Kalashnikov rounds passed through the sphere without effect. The sphere pulsed. Private Raskov unspooled. I do not know how else to describe it. One moment he was a man. The next, he was a long red ribbon of biological matter stretching 200 meters up the slope, spiraling into the sphere. We retreated immediately. Containment Protocol. Artillery strike authorized from Sevastopol base coordinates. We shelled the slope for 4 hours to destabilize the snowpack. The resulting cover story will be natural causes. The ribbon of Private Raskov was collected and incinerated. The bodies of the students were staged. We stripped the calcification from their skin using acid washes. This explains the discoloration noted by later coroners. We placed them in positions suggesting a desperate flight from freezing. Conclusions. The gate at height 1079 is not closed. It is merely dormant. The hikers triggered it. It appears the entity is attracted to observation. Zolotaryev's camera was the catalyst. By trying to capture the image of the distortion, he anchored it to our reality. The photos developed from the roll found around Zolotaryev's neck are too dangerous to be viewed by human eyes. Looking at them induces immediate cerebral hemorrhaging. They have been sealed in lead box 4. Recommendation: do not go there. Do not let anyone go there. If the tourists return, let the mountain take them. It is the price of keeping the door shut. My conclusion. I finished reading the file 3 hours ago. I sat in my apartment staring at the wall. I thought it was over. I thought this was just history. Then I looked at the photos attached to the Reddit post I was drafting. Not the photos from the file. I don't have those. Just the stock photos of the Dyatlov incident you see online. The ones of the tent. The ones of the rescue party. I zoomed in. In the background of the famous photo where the rescuers are digging out the tent, there's a figure on the ridge. It's blurry, just a smudge of pixels, but I've been staring at it for 20 minutes, and now the pixels are moving. My nose just started bleeding. I can hear a hum. It's low, like a diesel engine idling in the next room. My monitor is getting hot. The text on my screen is starting to rearrange itself. I think I made a mistake. I think by translating the diary, by observing the observation, I rang the doorbell. If you're reading this, stop thinking about the mountain. Don't picture the slope. Don't imagine the geometry. Don't wonder what it looks like. It knows you're watching, and it's getting. Connection terminated. User deleted. Comments are disabled for this thread.
I'm writing this from a Motel 6 about 3 towns over. My hands are shaking so bad I can barely hit the right keys on my laptop. Maya's in the shower, scrubbing her skin raw for the 3rd time in an hour. She says she feels like there's a film on her, something greasy that won't wash off. I know exactly what she means. I need to get this down while the details are fresh. If anything happens to us, or if the police decide to sweep this under the rug like they did 3 weeks ago, I need there to be a record. It started about 4 months ago. Maya and I have been together for 3 years, living together for 1. We rent a decent-sized duplex in a quiet, older neighborhood in the Pacific Northwest. It's the kind of place with big Douglas firs blocking out the sun and constant rain. Perfect for cozy nights in, but terrible for visibility. The first incident was harmless, sweet even. Maya is an artist. She paints watercolors. She'd been complaining about losing her favorite sable brush. She tore the studio apart looking for it. 2 days later, we came home from grocery shopping, and the brush was sitting perfectly centered on the welcome mat inside the front door. "I must have dropped it when I was taking the trash out," she said, laughing. She was just happy to have it back. I thought it was weird. Why would she take a paintbrush to the trash? But I let it go. Then came the coffee. I wake up earlier than Maya for work. Every morning, I go to the kitchen, grind beans, and set the pot. One Tuesday, I walked into the kitchen at 6 a.m., and the coffee was already brewing. The pot was half full. The smell of hazelnut, Maya's favorite, which I hate, filled the room. I assumed Maya had woken up, couldn't sleep, made coffee, and went back to bed. When I asked her about it later, she looked at me like I was crazy. "I didn't get up until my alarm, Mark. You probably did it on autopilot." I let her convince me. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was sleepwalking. But then the gifts started. It wasn't creepy at first. It was almost unsettling. Maya would mention she was craving dark chocolate. The next day, a bar would be tucked into our mailbox. No postage, no note, just the chocolate.
She'd mentioned her hands were getting dry from the cold. A bottle of high-end lotion appeared on the porch steps. "I think I have a secret admirer," she joked one night over dinner. She was flattered. I was irritated. "It's probably just the neighbor, Mr. Henderson. He's sweet. He probably hears us talking through the walls." Mr. Henderson was 80 years old and walked with a cane. I doubted he was sneaking high-end lotion onto our porch at 3 a.m. The shift from helpful to terrifying happened on a Friday night in October. We were watching a movie on the couch. We had the lights off. The layout of our living room is such that the TV is opposite a large bay window that looks out onto the street. It was raining hard. Halfway through the movie, my phone buzzed. An airdrop request. iPhone 3 wants to share a photo. I didn't recognize the device name. I have my settings on contacts only, but maybe I updated my iOS recently and it reverted. Curiosity got the better of me. I accepted. The photo popped up. My stomach dropped into my shoes. It was a photo of us from right now, taken from behind the couch. I froze. I didn't say a word to Maya. I slowly turned my head, expecting to see someone standing in the kitchen doorway behind us. Nothing. Just the dark hallway leading to the bedroom. "Mark, what's wrong?" Maya asked, seeing my face. "Get your phone. Go to the car. Now." I grabbed a heavy brass lamp from the side table and did a sweep of the house while Maya ran out the front door. I checked every closet, under the bed, the shower. Nothing. The back door was locked. The windows were latched. I went out to the car. Maya was crying. I showed her the photo. It was grainy, low light, but unmistakable. The angle was high, looking down on the backs of our heads. We called the police. They came, did a perimeter check, and shrugged. "Probably a prank. Maybe someone hacked your webcam." We didn't have one, and the angle was wrong. It was from behind us. That night, we slept at a hotel. When we came back the next day, during daylight, to pack a bag, as I was grabbing clothes from our closet, I noticed something. Our bedroom closet is a walk-in, but it's narrow. On the top shelf, I keep old shoe boxes. One of them was moved. I pulled it down. It was a box for a pair of Nikes I bought 2 years ago. Inside, I found a collection. But it wasn't my stuff. It was a shrine. There were balls of hair, red hair, Maya's shade, rolled into neat little spheres. There were used cotton pads with makeup on them, a pair of her underwear that went missing months ago, and photos, hundreds of Polaroids, Maya sleeping, Maya brushing her teeth, Maya cooking. But the worst ones were the ones of me. In every photo of me, my eyes had been scratched out with a needle. Just black, ragged holes where my face should be. And on the bottom of the stack was a note written in jagged, frantic handwriting. "He doesn't appreciate you. I do. I water your flowers. I watch you dream. He is in the way."
I grabbed Maya, threw the bag in the car, and we sped off after finding that box in the closet. I went to the police station again. I slammed the box of photos on the desk. "Is this a prank?" I screamed at the desk sergeant. Finally, they took it seriously. They sent a forensic unit to the house. They dusted for prints. They found nothing. No forced entry, no foreign fingerprints. "Whoever this is," the detective told me, "he knows your house better than you do, and he's wearing gloves." They told us to stay away. We did, but I messed up. I realized I left my laptop at the house. My work laptop with sensitive client data. I couldn't just leave it. So 3 hours ago, I told Maya I was going to the store. I drove back to the house. It was 4 p.m., broad daylight. I figured I'd be in and out in 2 minutes. I unlocked the front door. The house was stiflingly hot. We had turned the heat off, but it felt like a sauna. I ran to the office, grabbed my bag, and turned to leave. That's when I heard it. A thump, directly above my head. We don't have a second floor. We have an attic, but it's just insulation and rafters. The access hatch is in the hallway ceiling. I stood frozen in the hallway, looking up at the square outline of the hatch. Creak.
Someone was walking up there, trying to be quiet but stepping on a rafter. I should have run. I know that now, but the rage took over. This person had ruined our lives. They had violated Maya. I went to the garage and grabbed my baseball bat. I dragged the stepladder into the hallway. I climbed up. I pushed the hatch open. It was pitch black. The heat hit me like a physical blow. It smelled of rot, unwashed body, and that sickly sweet hazelnut coffee. I clicked on my phone's flashlight. I wasn't looking at insulation. I was looking at a living room. Someone had laid plywood sheets over the rafters to create a floor. There was a mattress in the corner, a bucket for waste, a rigorous setup of monitors. The monitors were glowing. I squinted. They were live feeds. The bathroom, the bedroom, the living room. He hadn't hacked the Wi-Fi cameras. He had hardwired his own pinhole cameras into the drywall. He had been watching us from up here the entire time. Every intimate moment, every fight, every second of sleep. And then I saw the hole. In the floor, right next to the mattress, there was a hole cut through the drywall. I crawled over to it. It looked directly down into our bedroom, directly over Maya's side of the bed. A long, clear plastic tube was rigged next to it, hanging down. I realized what it was. A hydration tube, like from a camelback. But he wasn't drinking from it. He was using it to listen, or to whisper. So soft. The realization hit me so hard I almost puked. He wasn't breaking in. He was descending. Then from the dark corner behind the water heater, a voice spoke. "You're early, Mark." I swung the flashlight. A man was crouched there. He was naked, his skin pale and covered in insulation fibers. His hair was long and greasy, hanging over his face. But I could see his eyes, wide, manic. And he was holding something. It was my spare house key, the one that went missing 6 months ago. I haven't finished the preparation yet. Maya doesn't like the red sauce. She prefers the Alfredo. I was going to make dinner tonight. He lunged. He was fast, stronger than he looked. He tackled me and we rolled on the plywood. The heat was suffocating. He smelled of death. He bit my forearm hard enough to draw blood. I smashed the butt of the flashlight into his temple. He didn't even flinch. He was giggling. "She loves me," he wheezed. "She used the brush I gave her." I managed to kick him off. I scrambled back toward the hatch. He didn't chase me. He just sat up on the mattress, wiping blood from his forehead. "You can't take her," he whispered. "I've already marked her." I dropped down the ladder, falling the last few feet. I hit the floor, scrambled up, and ran. I didn't stop running until I was in the car and halfway down the block. I called 911. They swarmed the house. When they went into the attic, it was empty. He was gone. But they found the tunnel. He had cut a passage through the firewall that separates our unit from the vacant unit next door, the unit that has been under renovation for 6 months. He hadn't just been in our attic. He had the run of the entire building. I'm at the motel now. The police are searching the area, but they say the woods behind the complex go on for miles. I'm posting this because of what I found in my pocket when I got to the motel. I was reaching for my lighter, and my fingers brushed a piece of paper that definitely wasn't there when I went into the house. He must have slipped it into my pocket when we were fighting. It's a Polaroid. It's a photo of the motel we are currently staying in, taken from the woods across the street, and written on the back in that jagged, frantic scrawl, "Room 104 has a drafty window. Keep her warm for me." We are in room 104.
We are leaving now. I don't know where we're going. If you see a man, about 5'10", 120 pounds, pale, with a scar on his temple, run, and for God's sake, check your attics. Update. 4 hours later. We drove. We didn't stop. We're 3 states away now. Maya is asleep in the passenger seat. I'm parked at a truck stop, using their Wi-Fi. I can't shake the feeling that he's not just following us. I keep thinking about the mark he mentioned. I've already marked her. While Maya was sleeping, I noticed something on her neck, right at the base of her hairline. I thought it was a mole at first. I looked closer with the flashlight. It's a tiny blue tattoo, a single dot. My blood ran cold. Had he been close enough to tattoo her while she slept? Or had he drugged her? The implications made me want to scream. Then I checked her phone again, the Find My location sharing. It was on, sharing with a contact named Daddy. I disabled it. I threw the phone out the window 10 miles back. But as I sit here, looking at the dark highway, I see a car parked on the shoulder about 100 yards back. Its lights are off, but the dome light just flickered on for a second. Someone is sitting there, and I think he's holding a hazelnut coffee. I'm gonna wake Maya up. We have to keep moving.